Welcome to Soundtrack Your Life, a podcast about soundtracks, music, and movies. Each episode features a guest and focuses on a specific soundtrack and the personal stories connected to it. Now here's your host, Ryan Pack.
This is Soundtrack Your Life, the podcast where we talk about soundtracks and we share some personal stories. My name is Ryan Pack. I am your host. Today we're going to be talking about the 2017 Edgar Wright film Baby Driver. Our guest composes the music for this podcast. He is also a member of the group Rubber Spaniel. He is the Chicago-based musician Phil Bertulfo.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, Phil.
Hi, thanks so much for having me, Ryan.
So I've known Phil for a very long time. We go all the way back. To college. And that's kind of an important part of why we're talking about Baby Driver, because one of the bands that we bonded over back in college was the Jon Spencer Blues Explosion, and they're a pretty important part, or their music is a very important part of the film.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, I mean, if you've seen the movie, or if you know anything about the movie, a lot of people, or like a big thing about it is that opening scene, that wonderful music video, basically of a heist scene. The song is Jon Spencer Blues Explosion's "Bellbottoms," and he just did a fantastic job. Edgar Wright did a fantastic job cutting that. It's a song I've known since high school, so going back over 20 years now, and I never once thought of it as like a heist song, but the way he put it in the movie, it just works perfectly. Generally, I think that if something like that would kind of put me off, like a song I would be really familiar with, recontextualized in some way. But I think he did a kind of an amazing job with it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would have ever thought in, a million years that the Jon Spencer Blues Explosion would be used in a major motion picture like this. Yeah. I mean, they've been used on other soundtracks, but not like in this movie, you literally see him pull out his iPod and pull up Jon Spencer Blues Explosion. Yeah. And this isn't a movie that's set in the 90s. This is basically a present day film. And yeah. he uses Bellbottoms so beautifully. But back in college, you told me that you did something with a song by the Jon Spencer Blues Explosion in a talent show, right?
No, yeah. Well, actually, I had this is gonna sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but the only audition that I never passed actually was trying to play this song, Bellbottoms, for a talent show. I had been in the school talent show every year prior, and then the year after, but the year I tried out with Bellbottoms was the year that I did not get in, and so seeing it in this movie and seeing it suddenly become a popular song, it feels very vindicating to me, to my high school self. I remember there was a time restraint on the audition, so I couldn't play the whole song. It's a pretty long song, and then there's that the whole, kind of shafty, string slow thing at the beginning, and we had to just cut that. We were just well, no, we'll just do the fast part. That's the cool part of the song anyway. So we started our audition with the weird Jon Spencer monologue, which coming from a scrawny high school nobody who's not Jon Spencer, talking about bell-bottoms. No one watching that audition was excited about what we had going on. And then we launched into probably a pretty weak version of it. And so we didn't get it. But yeah, no, seeing the song suddenly become popular because of this movie has been very gratifying as an adult.
Yeah, so what's weird is So they were moderately successful. Like they didn't make it into the mainstream in the 90s, but I think you're like the only person who I knew that liked them.
Yeah.
That I didn't have to like get, like you knew who they were before I met you. Like I had other friends who liked them, but it's because I was like, oh, you should listen to the Jon Spencer Blues Explosion.
Yeah.
You're the first person where it's like, oh, you have Jon Spencer Blues Explosion CDs.
Yeah, their like auxiliary records were always more interesting than the records that they put out. Like, I think the best record is probably Orange, but the record before it was Extra Width, right? And they put out on like some small label the EP, or like they put out like a full album after that called Mo Width, and it's just like the jams from Extra Width, and Mo Width is like raw as fuck. It's like really good. I don't know, they keep doing this. It's a weird thing where their best stuff is like not the records that they put out, even though their records are like really good, even though like Orange is really good.
You're definitely better with the like EPs in between the Jon Spencer albums.
Because I'm their only fan.
No, I mean, obviously they had. Did you ever wonder like because they were a pretty successful band, like obviously they weren't like they weren't like a Billboard Top 40 band or anything like that, but like I remember going to shows and being like, oh thank God there's other people at these shows, because I felt like no one knew what the fuck I was talking about. Like was it just they attracted an older crowd, or was it they attracted, I don't know, I always thought it was like, oh, all their friends are in like the East Coast.
I think a lot of it I think a lot of it feels like an East Coast thing. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but they do feel like particularly New York. I think also they're kind of a hard sell on name alone. It just sounds pretentious, and then the word blues is in it, and everyone is just like, no thanks. Like, it's too long to remember. Sgt. Pepper's Blues, what? No thanks. Like, I think everyone's just like, I'm not going to listen to a band with a name that long. And then I think what they are is just so strange. It's just like two low-tuned guitars and a drummer, and the drummer's very sparse. I mean, it's like it's almost as stripped down as White Stripes. It's like playing in that same field of like simple but hard, but I think like Jon Spencer Blues Explosion is just like too trashy for the general public, which I don't think is bad. I think that's like what it should be. He and that band are what they should be.
Yeah, but I'm kind of surprised that like between the White Stripes and the Rise of the Black Keys that like somehow they didn't accidentally have like a hit in between.
I think they were too old at that point. I think they were like 40 or almost 40 or something, And like White Stripes, when that was all going on, like White Stripes and the Strokes and like the Hives and all that, like I guess that's a different, I guess like the Hives and the Strokes are a different breed, but like White Stripes and like you said, like Black Keys. Yeah, I mean, I think they were just kind of aimed younger. And like these kind of weren't, and they kind of weren't doing the same thing. Like I feel like Jon Spencer Blues Explosion to me is kind of like the end game of Rolling Stones. Like what Rolling Stones if you boil Rolling Stones down further with like, yeah, I feel like if you boil them down further, you get the Jon Spencer Blues Explosion. People are gonna hate your podcast now that I said that. I'm very sorry for ruining your entire podcast, Ryan, but that's just what I believe. You just get this dirty, gross American trio that's just kind of vamping on some hard shit, right? Like, I mean, Judah Bauer is a beast. Jon Spencer is not so great on the guitar, but what he's doing is boiling it down to growls and grunts. And this is the weird thing. I watched the movie with captions. We're kind of a captions family because we got kids that are asleep at night and we don't want to have the movies on too loud and our air conditioner's loud. So like we put the captions on in case we miss things. And whoever did the captioning job for Baby Driver on Amazon Prime, they knew their shit, because not only was like the guitar strums like timed, it would say like strings gently rising, guitar strum, low guitar strum, like they would pop up as they were happening. And then like, you know, that's how the song starts, and then the song really starts like da 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 da. On that first da-da-da, that's when it said Jon Spencer Blues Explosion plays Bellbottoms. Like they waited until the song got started before they credited the song. And then I had kind of a hard time paying attention to the movie because I didn't know that like the lyrics of this song. It's the Jon Spencer Blues Explosion. He's just barking weird shit. And then they had like transcribed his lyrics going on at the bottom. And I was like, oh, weird. Oh, I guess he is saying she got them. You know, over and over again. Yeah, weird. So I was like reading his lyrics for the first time. Also, I don't know. It's watch the movie with captions if you've watched it a bunch of times and you just want to see it in a different way, because whoever did the captions, they timed everything correctly, and I think they transcribed things in ways that blew my mind a little bit.
And then there's that bell-bottom sample at the end of the movie.
Wait. There's a bell-bottom sample at the end?
The song that goes over the credits is a Danger Mouse produced song with Run the Jewels and Big Boy, and it's a song called Chase Me. It's them basically rapping over bell-bottoms.
Oh shit. I don't think I noticed that. Man. Well, I got to listen to that now.
Are you surprised that they haven't been sampled more in hip hop?
You know, yeah, now that you mention it, I mean, I guess I don't know that they haven't, but just that they haven't, if they have been, that they haven't made it any bigger than how they were used in this movie. I mean, I also feel like, again, like their level of popularity is appropriate. But I actually never saw the movie until last night. I just kind of knew about it because of I like Edgar Wright. I just, you know, have kids, so I don't get to the movies as much as I'd like. And
it's so sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was like, it's so crazy that you didn't see it till recently, because when I watched it in the theater, when that scene started, I immediately was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna like blow Phil's mind. And then I was like, hey Phil, did you watch Baby Driver? We should talk about it. And you're like, oh, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, no, I just don't. I mean, I haven't been. I don't get to the movies that often because of kids, and then because of coronavirus. Now I never go to the movies. So actually, I should be seeing more, but I'm just so busy all the time. But I made the time to see Baby Driver, and I was very happy to do it. I can see why you picked specifically this for specifically me, not just because of Jon Spencer Blues Explosion, but because there's so many other songs on here that like I know you and I have had conversations about, or that feel very much like a kind of mix CD one of us would have put together in the you know, late 90s, early 2000s. There's like a lot of stuff on this soundtrack that feels like if there were maybe like 4 songs that they replaced, like I might. And they replaced them with like very specific 4 other songs, I might have to like sue them for stealing my likeliness in some way, because there's so much stuff on here.
I keep on wanting to say like you and Edgar Wright would be best friends because you pretty much have the same musical taste.
It's bizarre.
Obviously, there's more to friendship than that, but like, I just felt like this is such a. I mean, and if you go back to Scott Pilgrim versus the World as well, where he has Beck writing the Sex Bomb songs, and you know, I think Dan the Automator makes the music for the Dancing Ninja video game and stuff like that.
Well,
I was like, this is so up our alley, right?
I know. I mean, that movie. I mean. So I think I've seen. I'm sure there's something of his that I haven't seen, and I know I haven't seen like Spaced. But Edgar Wright movies have all been. Everyone that I've seen has been very, very good. I think previous to this, I think Hot Fuzz was probably my favorite. But Scott Pilgrim, like, watch the experience of watching that the first time is just like, from how like expertly they deployed Bill Hader as the like voice of the like video game intros, like start battle,
Right.
down to I don't know, just down to like the bizarre physical jokes of Michael Cera like wiping his hands on separate towels in the bathroom, or like I don't know, like that movie just seems like, here guys, I know you will like these things, and me and our friends were just like, yeah, we like all of these things, this is a great movie. But this feels, Baby Driver feels more like it feels like his first serious movie, in a way. Like,
yeah, I can see that.
It's filled with the kinds of things in Hot Fuzz that he did as a joke, as like aren't action movies silly for all having this moment, And Baby Driver had a ton of those moments, callback, like kind of silly callbacks, but meaningful callbacks to like things they said to each other. And it's the kind of thing that before would be like he would do as a joke, but here he's doing it, and it works. It's like what you do in like a big heisty action movie, and that it's set to music that I mostly love. It's it feels strange. It feels strange for me. Like, I can't imagine if all of these songs that I love were in a movie that was bad. Like, I would be not happy about it.
Oh, so on the soundtrack there's a song called "Is He Slow?" and it's like a bunch of dialogue that's like chopped and screwed. It's kind of in reference to what he's doing in the movie, where he's recording these conversations and then remixing them.
Right.
You know who's actually mixing that song? It's actually Kid Koala behind the scenes actually making this song.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I saw Kid Koala once at a record store performance.
Oh, okay.
So it was Deltron, so it's Del the Funky Homo Sapien and Kid Koala and Dan the Automator. And when Eunice and I were dating, I took her to the show, and I was like, it's gonna be cool. Like, it's 90s hip hop. You love 90s hip hop, and she's like, I've never heard of Deltron. And I was like, you'll like them. They've got like a real DJ. His name's Kid Koala. Dan the Automator is the producer, and Del the Funky Homo Sapien. Like, Del the Funky Homo Sapien. Like, when you hear him rap, you'll know who he is. And so we go to the show, and we have a great time. And when we're leaving, I'm driving off. So when we're leaving, I'm driving, and Eunice is on her phone, and she goes, "What?" And I'm like, "What's wrong?" And she had pulled up Wikipedia, and I guess Kid Koala's Wikipedia page has a picture of him DJing in a koala suit. And she was like, why? Like, he was just like in regular clothes. Like, why didn't we get him in the koala suit? Like, I didn't know that he came out in a koala suit. And I was like, I don't think he normally DJs in a koala suit. And she's like, I wanted the guy in the koala suit. I didn't want that guy. I believe that Kid Koala did some stuff for Edgar Wright for Scott Pilgrim as well.
Oh, wow. I'm not seeing it in the soundtrack, but I know in the movie I heard a Handsome Boy Modeling School song.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I know I heard Holy Calamity. Holy Calamity, Scream Insanity. Yeah.
I know that song.
Bear Witness. Who's on that? Yeah. It's definitely somewhere near the end of that movie, because I remember hearing that and going like, again, this guy's like picking music from my brain.
Yeah, that's another group that we bonded over in college, was Handsome Boy Modeling School.
Handsome Boy Modeling School.
Because I think we were the only two people that were like excited, like Miho Hattori and Mike D on the same song.
I still put that song on every now and then. Actually, that Hattori Mike D song. There's also a lot of stuff on there that's like sample, like stuff that is sampled, like like people from the '90s would know because it's sampled in like hip hop.
Right.
There's the Harlem Shuffle starts off with these horns that, like, when I heard those horns, I was like, oh shit, they're putting fucking House of Pain on now.
Right.
And then it was the Harlem Shuffle, and I was like, oh right, this is like great samples from great music. That also kind of feels like a thing that I would have done on my or a thing I did do on my like mix CDs. Like I remember I made a mix CD in college when I found out that what the sample was that Beck used on Jackass is like this I think it's a Van Morrison cover of a Bob Dylan song. So I like made this elaborate CD of like, you know, here's that Bob Dylan song, and then here's Beck, and then here's what you think will be another Beck song because it sounds like Jackass, but is actually a Van Morrison song. It's actually not Van Morrison. It's Van Morrison singing that previous Bob Dylan song. I thought I was like some kind of amazing compilation master, but that felt like the kind of thing I would have done on the that he was doing in the soundtrack. Like, oh, here, it's not House of Pain. You think it's House of Pain, but it's actually what the sample is originally from. There's just a lot of the older kind of soul songs that are on the soundtrack. I feel like if I didn't know the song, then I had heard it sampled in another song.
You know, I think the first time that we met was actually, I think I was over in your dorm in freshman year of college, and you weren't playing Deborah, but I'm pretty sure you were playing something by Beck in your room.
I think I was playing Mutations or something. You were walking by to visit someone else, and you passed by the door. You heard what I was listening to, and I remember pretty quickly you were like looking at all my CDs and like commenting on them, and I was like, he knows these things. No one else knows these things.
You were definitely playing like some Beck deep cut. It wasn't like you were playing the riff from Loser, and I was like, oh, you're playing Beck. Like, it was definitely like something from Mutations, or definitely definitely not one of the Odelay singles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we didn't have a lot of space in those dorms, so I had all my CDs in a drawer that was like probably meant for stationary, but I crammed it all with music. And I just remember you or me opening it and you just like staring down in it and like rifling through it with your fingers, and like I think I remember you pulling out Jon Spencer Blues Explosion. You I also you had like, but at that point you had already interviewed Mike Watt. I remember that came up, and I was just like, who's this guy who talks to Mike Watt and knows the Jon Spencer Blues Explosion?
Oh yeah, that was a couple of years before. Yeah, it was weird because they used to have this music festival, which is actually not too far from where I live now, and they called it "This Ain't No Picnic," and they named it after the Minutemen song, and they had Mike Watt playing it every year. So I got to interview him there. It was really cool. But yeah. It ended up being just like, it's like 15 minutes down the road from my house now.
Somehow in my head I got it into my head that This Ain't No Picnic somehow evolved into Coachella, but that's not true, is it?
No,
was
that's not true.
Was This Ain't No Picnic not a Golden Voice thing?
I mean, I think it was a Golden Voice thing, but I don't know. I don't think it evolved into Coachella.
Because there was This Ain't No Picnic for like a couple of years, right?
Yeah,
or was there only the one?
I think it was for 3 years.
Uh-huh.
And then
but
I thought Coachella
started, right?
But I thought Coachella started as a rave.
Oh, did it start as a rave? Maybe This Ain't No Picnic and Coachella overlapped for like a year, and then they realized like, oh, like we can just have This Ain't No Picnic become Coachella, and the ravers will go to one side, will go to the tents, and everyone else will go to like stages, and we'll get all of them to go for like $5,000. And
but Mike Watt's not invited.
Has he never played Coachella?
I think he might have played with like form? The Stooges, probably with Iggy.
Probably with Iggy.
I mean, I'm sure he's played, but like they didn't name Coachella after a Minutemen song.
That's true.
Do you remember in college we used to go to Tower Records at midnight for brand new releases?
I do remember that. Which tower did we go to though? I can't. That's the thing. Like, I've been thinking a lot about this recently, about how I used to go at midnight, to Tower, but I don't remember which one. So it would be midnight on Monday. We'd be like Monday night, right?
Yeah.
Because records used to come out on Tuesday.
It's the one in Costa Mesa, I think.
When we were freshmen, wasn't there a Warehouse Music or like a Blockbuster Music or something in that plaza across the street from the university where they shot that Pavement video? Yeah,
there was a warehouse over there, and that warehouse is how we discovered that Pavement shot part of Gold Sounds there, because we were watching that like the behind the scenes thing on that Slow Century DVD.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that looks like our warehouse.
Yeah.
It was our warehouse, like it became our warehouse.
But I don't remember, like, it closed. I don't remember going there after freshman year, right? Like, it closed. I feel like it closed pretty quickly.
I think it closed in 2002 or 2003.
I think I got, like, the Green Album there. Or no, maybe I got the Green Album there, but I definitely got Kid A there.
Right. I got Kid A there. The last thing I think I got there was like original Pirate Material by The Streets.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I remember buying that there.
Like when I moved to Chicago shortly after college, and it took me a while to find like my places that I could go at midnight. There were actually none that were open here that I knew of or that I could get to easily. And then everyone in town was talking about this record shop. I won't name it because I don't want to slander it, but like, oh, this is the best record shop in town. You should go to this record shop. And I remember the day that I think Malkmus came out with Face the Truth the same day that Sleater Kinney came out with like The Woods or something like that. That sounds wrong. But there were two records that came out the same day, and I'm pretty sure one of them was Face the Truth. Maybe like Stereo Lab or something. But I wanted to get those two records, and I went to this supposed great shop that I should go to because everyone goes to this shop, figuring they'll at least have one of those records, and they had neither. And I remember being so angry coming home and thinking about times that I had been burned by that Tower Records that you were just brought up. For like, I remember once going to get Hail to the Thief with our mutual friend Patrick. We reserved it. We gone there to get some other records some other time, and we like knew Hail to the Thief was coming out. We saw that there was a big poster that said like reserve your like special edition Hail to the Thief, it's like with the book and like the fold out map or whatever. And we were like, yeah, let's get the fucking special edition Hail to the Thief. So like we all pre-ordered it, and like day of, I remember like I got mine, they had mine, I'd reserved it, Patrick also reserved it, and they did not get his.
Oh, that sucks. I don't remember that.
Like, you don't remember that? No, it was like one fiasco after another, because then later on we had gone to like Berkeley for like spring break or something, and they had a tower over there on like Telegraph, and he was like, oh, I still have that voucher, why don't I fucking get my Hail to the Thief? And then because the tax is different there, it was like an hour fiasco trying to work out like what the hell was going on. It was like, why are we 20 cents off? And it's just like, just here's 20 cents. I don't care. Just give me my record. I should have been given this, months ago.
I was trying to push us to like happier times at Tower Records.
Oh, there's definitely happier times.
I remember you got the Jon Spencer Blues Explosion album Red Fang there at midnight.
Ah, uh-huh. I think that was their last Matador record.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. It had some pretty cool packaging too, but it was not that good a record.
But I think it had B-sides with like Elliott Smith on it, and we were like, we got to listen to this at midnight.
What else did we get at midnight there?
I think you got Fugazi's The Argument.
Ooh, that's a great record. That would have been like 2003.
Yeah.
I think something like that. Yeah.
I remember getting Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots at midnight.
Oh wow.
And then we proceeded to go see Beck and the Flaming Lips play together, and that show blew our minds.
That show still kind of blows my mind.
But that was a great time. We, as we stated earlier, we did bond over Beck when we first met. Beck is also on the Baby Driver soundtrack with Deborah.
Yeah, that song Deborah. I mean, everyone who knows Beck or at least like loved 90s Beck knows that Deborah is probably like his greatest song. And that really it's probably his greatest song, but it also feels like a deep cut. I think it's kind of deep cutty. Do you feel that way, or is it do you think it's too funny to be a deep cut?
I mean, I think it's kind of one of those songs where like all the fans know it. Like, that you're talking to like a true Beck fan when you can talk to them about Deborah. So it's kind of a deep cut in that way.
I definitely convinced people of Beck's greatness in college because of that song. But I remember the first time I heard about it, he was on it was on the Odelay tour. And I was one of those like early internet, high school, middle school dorks who would like go to like the message boards. Like I was a big on like alt.music.beck or like alt.music.sonic-youth or whatever,
Right.
alt.music.name a band, and I was probably on that message board. Probably not posting, but definitely reading everything. And I remember I was all geared up to see Beck on the Odelay tour, and I'd like never gone to a concert before, or not like on my own, and not something that I wanted to see. And I was like reading about like set lists. I was like reading what he was playing, and there was always this song that everyone wrote at the bottom near the end called I Want to Get With You and Your Sister Deborah, because no one knew that it was just going to be called Deborah. And I think he even introduced it as I Want to Get With You, pause, and Your Sister Deborah. And so I was like all excited about it, or I would like read people's reviews of shows, and they would all like spend like a paragraph on just this song and how great it is. So I was like all hyped to see this song. And it like, I saw him at the Santa Monica Civic Center in 1996, I think. And it delivered. It truly delivered. And then when like years later when he put it out on Midnight Vultures, it was like an even better version than like I had heard live, than I had like been able to get on bootlegs. He like performed it on that like what was that PBS show with
Austin City Limits?
With Chris?
No.
No. The New York one. There was like the NPR, the like KCRW guy did like it was called Sessions at West 54th. Do you remember Sessions at West 54th?
I do now.
Yeah, there was like a Ben Folds 5 episode I think it was a Ben Folds 5 Beck episode.
Oh, crazy.
And it was like how I learned about Ben Folds 5. But the Beck episode was like the first that I knew of like broadcast recorded version of Deborah. And and I just didn't imagine that it would fit on an album, let alone that the whole album would be like an album of Deborah's. So when that album came out, and Deborah was like the centerpiece of it, but it was also like the end of like, 12 jokes that are very similar. It just felt like this embarrassment of riches, and I was very happy to see it in the movie and in the soundtrack too. And then the soundtrack, what else is on there? There's like Egyptian reggae. Like I love
Jonathan Richman.
And I think that's like one of the few Modern Lovers songs that he still like play. Like I've seen him a few times, and I think he's played Egyptian reggae both, or at least twice. That's two of the times I've seen him. What else is on there? There's an I recently went through an REM phase.
Oh, I did too.
And specifically, you did too?
Yeah, I did.
Where were you? Where were you in your REM phase? Like where have you landed?
A lot of Adventures in Hi-Fi.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
That's not where I've been, but I have definitely reassessed it as good. Like I was not into that record when it came out.
Yeah, me neither.
But now I'm like, oh, and I was like, what? This is like the band, like knowing each other, like knowing each other's nuances, and it's a great record. Patti Smith.
Yeah. That first song I want to sample to a hip hop beat.
That's a good idea. No, I've been all Automatic for the People, and a lot of their early stuff. But Automatic for the People, I think that just is always going to be my favorite REM record. And I kind of didn't listen to REM for a long time. This is like another weird connection. The first talent show that I got in middle school was with an REM song. Was with I knew I would get in because if I knew that if I just could remember most of the lyrics to "It's the End of the World as We Know It" and I Feel Fine, that we could probably play it terribly, but we would still get in. And I was right. We probably played it terribly, but we still got in. And I just kind of like at Hi-Fi, at New Adventures in Hi-Fi, I remember being so disappointed with it when it came out that I just kind of forgot all about REM after that. Like I didn't like hate them or write them off completely, but I definitely like wasn't interested in new REM. But I don't know, I just kind of forgot about them until recently. I listened to do you know that podcast Song Exploder?
Yeah.
I heard their episode of it where they talked about Try Not to Breathe, which is I think the second or third song off of Automatic for the People. And like I just like completely forgot about that song and was like oh, what a beautiful, wonderful song. And then I put that record on, and then like I listened to nothing but REM for like a month. But a lot of it was Automatic for the People, and the New Orleans instrumental number 1, or I think that's what it's called. But that instrumental song is in this movie. And it comes at like a nice kind of breather moment where you kind of like need things to calm down. And it just kind of also like perfectly sets the tone for what happens. It just the use of music in this movie is top notch.
Thank you, Phil, for coming on the podcast. Please check out Phil's group Rubber Spaniel. You can find them on Spotify. You can also find Phil on Twitch under the name Kerslip, which is KERSLZP. I don't really know how it's pronounced either. I say Kerslip. It was a random thing. I just smacked my keyboard and stuck with it, and I've stuck with it for too many years. So what's that Twitch account again? Can you spell it out one more time? KERSLZP. Kerslip. You can hear Rubber Spaniel stuff on there, and I Twitch fairly
current games. I stream fairly current games and a lot of old school, mostly Nintendo games too. So check it out.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Let's do it again.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Thanks for joining us this week on Soundtrack Your Life. Make sure to visit our website, soundtrackyourlife.net, where you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too.